Herbert Smith Freehills has released its 4th annual Asia Pacific M&A review. To discuss the report and what lies ahead for M&A in the region, we're joined by partner Tony Damian.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Overall, how would you describe M&A activity across the Asia Pacific over the past year?
2016 was a year of great uncertainty. We had Brexit, we had the election of President Trump, but despite all of that uncertainty, it was a really impressive level of M&A activity throughout the region. And I think that's the standout feature when we look back on 2016. In fact, a number of jurisdictions throughout the region had their record levels of M&A activity, so really strong results. A number of reasons for that. On the demand side of the equation, a good example is that private equity is very active in buy-side roles. And we also saw some sector-specific issues. So in the mining sector, we had a large number of deals, and that was driven by big mining companies looking to recalibrate their portfolio of assets.
It was a record-breaking year in some quarters. Where were these high levels of activity concentrated?
The standout was Chinese outbound M&A, and the level of that in 2016 was double the level in 2015. And 2015 was still a pretty good year. And so that's a standout that was really a big part of the equation, but not the only one. And so India achieved levels of M&A activity that were near record. Thailand also had a very strong year. There are also some sector trends, and so in the Asia Pacific region, the level of M&A in fintech was the highest in the world. So some really strong results across countries and also across sectors.
Looking closer to home, how did Australia fare?
Happily, Australia wasn't left out. So a strong year, and an interesting thing to note, it was both public M&A, so the takeover side of the equation, but also private M&A. On the public side, we had deals, for instance, like the breakup takeover of Asiano, which was a very significant transaction. We also saw a lot of inbound interest, so the takeovers of pack brands and broad spectrum, good examples there. Now, private M&A often isn't as fashionable as public M&A, but gee, it played a big role out here last year. And so, for instance, the Ausgrid transaction, $16 billion, Port of Melbourne, $10 billion, big deals, and they contributed to a strong year in Australia.
And how is 2017 shaping up? What are going to be the big trends to watch?
Looks like a good year. A couple of things to call out. I mentioned earlier that Chinese outbound M&A was at record levels in 2016. There's been a regulatory response that'll be toned down a bit. It won't stop. There'll still be good capital outflows, but I don't expect that to be the same as last year. Sector-wise, oil and gas. We do expect to see a really high level of deal activity in oil and gas as oil and gas companies respond to the current environment and all of its challenges. And then the other thing I'd call out is that in terms of who's going to be doing the buying, we think that North American acquirers, both US and Canadian, will have a lot of interest close to home here in Australia, but also throughout the region. And so that's a factor we think when we're talking this time next year, we'll be saying a few things about.
Thank you for your time today.
Great, thank you.